I would like to warmly welcome each and every one of you for this lecture. Now, we want to talk about coaxial cables, or cables in general. The first one will be coaxial cables. Now, cables, first of all, what are they used for? Cables are just used for connecting devices from different areas, not from a similar area, but in different locations. So, now, the coaxial cable was one of the first cables which came up for connecting to the not to the connecting devices to each other for networking. So now when these cables came out, um, first of all, this is how they look like on the inside. So they had the copper core inside, an insulating material, and a braided outer conductor, then plus a plastic protective thing. If you notice, this is the same outlook your devices have. This the cable you use for connecting your antenna to your decoder. This is what it usually has on the inside, and basically that's what they have turned out to be. They use them mostly on cable TVs and CCTV cameras nowadays. Uh, and they have different types. There is the RG6, RG59, RG11. You'll be asking what RG is. RG stands for registered government. The name is weird, but yes, that's how it is. And there is this what they call the British Naval connector. This is how it looks like. This is a famous one, and that's why I needed to show you how it looks like. So it's also called the Banyot Nail Concealer. Most of the times this comes first, the Banyot Nail Concealer, then the British Naval connector comes next. So anyway you call it is best, but this was just came up like a nickname kind of, because the British liked using it a lot. So that's how the name came out. Now the twisted pair cable. Now this is the famous one. I'd even forgotten to talk about this. This is the F connector. The F connector is the one you people use the most. If you check the one on your decoder right now, you'll find that this is what is there. It looks exactly like this. It's like a replica. Actually, it's the same thing. So these are the ones they use nowadays, but they cannot be used in the networks nowadays because initially, now like these are the first two Ethernet cables which were being used. Now this first 10 stands for the amount of MBs it used to give. So this was 10 MBs baseband. Then this stands for the amount of meters, which is 500 Mbps. So 500 meters, I mean, sorry for that, 500 meters. And it was nicknamed thicknet. Then this one was 10 Mbps baseband, but 200 meters. But people claim that it was even less than 200 meters. If you see most books, it's written 185 meters. So it's called thinnet. Now the evolution came up when people wanted faster internet speed and all that. So they came up with something called the twisted pair, which is this T. This is what the T stands for, the twisted pair. And this is 10 base T. This stands for what? This is cat 3. Cat 3 is 10 base T. If you notice very well, cat 3 is 10 base T. 10 MBs base T, twisted pair. Then cat 5 is what? 100 Mbps. So it is 100 base T. Then cat 5 is 1000 base T. Then cat 6 same 1000 base T, like that. But yes, so the next thing is that this is how the interior looks like. Now, one thing you have to notice is there are two types of Ethernet cables. There is what they call the twisted, the shielded and unshielded pair, unshielded twisted pair cable. The shielded is inside here. This one is a shielded. Reason it does a foil inside it. Some of you, when you are cutting your wires, I remember seeing a foil inside. Those ones were the shielded ones. If you see your wire has this, it is usually some foil kind of that foil color. Yes, and it's actually foil. So then the four pairs for the Ethernet cables, because this one is for the Ethernet cable. There are four pairs. This is what they call an RJ11. RJ11 is a famous one, very famous. It's also famous for telephone communication, especially during the olden days. This is what they used to use mostly, telephone communication. So it's one of those things you should know how it looks like, and the difference between this and this is the connectors. These are only 6 if you count them very well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the pairs were just 3. So, but this one has 4. So you can also use this for. This is also another connector for the twisted pair. This is the what we call a DB9. But this connector is used nowadays mostly for the Cisco routers, for configuring Cisco routers. So if you are interested in such things, it's one of those things you should know how to use. Now then, this is how an Ethernet cable looks like. As you can see, if you count the pins, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So there are 8 for the Ethernet cables. So one thing you also have to learn is plenum cables. Basically, for plenum, what they are trying to mean is, in case the plenum is basically a material which is supposed to prevent when a fire outbreaks, it's supposed to prevent the wire from ejecting toxins which are going to affect your health and all that. So basically, if you buy a plenum cable, especially these Ethernet cables which are plenum, they usually have a PVC, and that helps to minimize the fumes from coming, as you can see here what is written. And basically that's it. If you buy a non-plenum, it's not very advisable for you to put it in the ceiling areas and all those areas where you cannot easily see it. So basically that's it. And most countries, they don't allow you to put such cables inside the non-planar, inside the ceiling. So be aware of that. Now, for the fiber optic cables, these travel through light, and this core is usually glass. Most of you who pay very good attention, whenever you're moving in town, you always see people in those underground tunnels. Sometimes you see a bunch of huge wires inside. Those are usually fiber optic cables, and they're the ones which are used in most countries for data transmission. Even in Uganda here, that's what it's used for, data transmission. You have heard of a company called Liquid Telecom. I'm seeing it being over advertised right now. It's one of those companies which provide fiber straight from Mombasa up to here. So the internet is even very fast. You've heard of Tangerine. Tangerine is also another company which does that. So some companies are able to do such things to provide you such a service based on the optic cables. So There are two types of optic cables. Fiber optic cables. There is the multi-mode and the single mode. The single mode, basically, as you can see, it is very tiny and it travels for long distances. That's one advantage about the single mode. The multi-mode is very good in terms of sharing information among different people, but it works for a short distance. Now, what happens is most of the times when people are transferring data to let's say, from Mombasa to Uganda, what happens is they use the single mode to come up to Uganda here. Now, the multi-mode will be used for connecting these different companies which want the service. Now, Liquid Telecom can come to Aptec and tell them, okay, we can provide you this service. So what happens is they already have cables running all over Kampala. So what happens is instead of creating a cable straight from Mombasa to give Aptex people, they will just connect uh, from the underground tunnel to just Aptec like that. As simple as that. So that's the benefit of these two. And as you can see for the there are two main portions of the fiber optic cables. There is the cladding glass, then the core glass. Most of the time they just put cladding and core. So cladding is those are different materials which are supposed to help the light from uh, to protect the light from getting out of the core, which is this main area. So that's one way of protecting the light from leaving. If because for data to transfer in the fiber optic cables, it's supposed to transfer through light. Now, if the light is moving back and forth in different directions, it will cause the light to fail to reach its destination. So basically, this protects this from getting out. Now, the next thing we're going to talk about is uh, inside it, as I said, core, then cladding. Most of this cladding is just a general definition of a different type of materials. So most of the times in the diagram, you just write core and cladding. But if you want to write all this, no problem. So this is a type. This is how it looks like on the inside. The multi-mode. Single mode looks like this. So these are different interfaces of different types of cables. So for the single mode, as you can see, one little trick I learned to differentiate between the single mode and the multi-mode is for S, wherever there is S, there is that's multi-mode, but wherever there is any other variable, any other value here is a single mode. So as you can see here, S multi-mode, L single mode, single mode, single mode, multi-mode, single mode, single mode, single mode, multi-mode. So that's one way of cramming these things if you're interested. And if you notice how many GBs this thing takes, it can even take one full terabyte of space. Using 100 GB PS. That's how strong the thing is. That's how much it can take. So okay, that's it for this class. I hope you have learned something new. I've taken time to create these videos. I hope to get a feedback from you to see how good they are. And I hope you guys practice these things. And I think we should have a demonstration in next classes. All the best. I wish you good luck.